to to throw justification on our inheritance of our past, our present, and our future. We use we use words like that all the time. And you might say, well, what do you mean by we use words like that? We use words like white privilege. You know, white privilege is used to put. It doesn't have any real meaning to it. There's no such thing. But we use it to justify that we believe that there's one subculture in one culture or one demographic type of people in this United States that are better than somebody else. And we use it to say it's always been like that. It's like that now and it's going to be like that in the future. That's white privilege. That's white supremacy and stuff. So we try to justify it, but is that justified? No. Because the way we speak, remember, we don't elaborate on the way we speak. We elaborate when we write. So when we speak and we talk about white privilege or white supremacy, it just becomes a wash over us that this is the way it is. And we accept those type of things like that because that's the way it falls into certain subcultures. Not all subcultures are going to believe that there's such a thing as white privilege. No. Not all subcultures are going to believe that, like Donald Trump's a white supremacist, that's a racist. No. But, could they all be persuaded to think about that? Oh yeah, because he's white and our inheritance is that we're better than everybody else in this country from our past, and from our present and and long into our futures, and we need to pass this on to our kids. So this is how we use that a little bit. Then we use it on the other end, too, victimization. We don't actually say the word victimization. We say non-inclusion. We say that we're being discriminated against. We say, what's that D word that everybody uses? I can't even think of it.
Dehumanize?
Yeah, we say, no, we don't use dehumanize, too many syllables. Diversity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have to be more diverse and have more diversity and more sensitivity so that people that we say who have white privilege and the white supremacy will understand our plight. But what's your plight? Well, it's like when we're talking, we don't explain it. If we're writing and we stay on course, just like with the night little scenario that I put there, I probably said around 80 words just to say night, to talk about the night in a book if I was writing, or just say night if I was speaking. And that's what we do here. So if we're saying victimization, we never say victimization, but we'll say all those other things. We need more diversity in this, that, and the other thing. Why? What we're going to do when we get it. We don't say those things. When we're writing, we can put those in there. We can explain the facts to why we need more diversity. But even when we're writing, how do you explain white privilege? It doesn't exist. You can't really put a marker on why you can say that there's white privilege. You can say somebody's a white supremacist because you can talk about their innate feelings. That would be something selfish to themselves. That would be all about them. Their emotional state of mind would be that because my skin is white and because of the white past, because who have money, and this is a republic based upon capitalism, so they were controlling everything. So in the past, I was much better than everybody else, and in the present, I'm still much better than everybody else. And in the future, I'm going to be much better than everybody else as soon as I get a job. But you don't even need a job to be a white supremacist and look back and justify all those words. You don't need anything because it doesn't exist. That, especially white privilege doesn't. Same with victimization. You can look back over history and you can see all the things that went about that were evil and everything, and they can disgust you to a place where you might even lose your appetite. And you can internalize that very harshly, and but then what you're internalizing will be looked at on you, because it'll come to your inheritance. How come my inheritance can only highlight these things from the past, these victimization things from the past? And if that's all it can highlight in the past, then I might as well just talk about it in the future, in the present, and my future looks dim, so it's never going to end. So this victimization is going to stay with me long into the future. You know, the justification of the words don't work, but it's spoken. If you write it down, and people take time to read, even yourself, write down yourself what you feel about these type of things, and then see if they have any real justifying validity. You'll come to find out that they really don't have a lot of that. And then, you know, a lot of people, in the black people in African Americans say, we're descended of kings and queens. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. We're a deck of cards. I don't know what we're descended of kings and queens have to do with anything, except that's our inheritance. That's what we inherited. That's our past. Yeah, when in another land, in another country, when we were a different class of people from a different subculture. That subculture had a hierarchy that had kings and queens, and we'd be descended of kings and queens. True, true. Does it mean anything? No. And, well, it might mean something to somebody, but I can't say no. But it's like, yeah, you could say that. But if you write it down in a book, you can explain it, and it comes out a whole bunch more, and the justification is put upon there. You can talk about the Queen of Sheba, you can talk about Cleopatra, you can talk about all those people when Ethiopia and Nubia was Africa. You know, you can talk about all that kind of hierarchy. You can talk about when the Greeks learned how to do all the things that the white people took from the Greeks. I ain't gonna explain that too well, but I'm gonna explain it anyway. All the knowledge that we have, the philosophies, the medicine, and all these type of super intellectual things that we have, we got from Greece, right? The Greeks, they got it from the Egyptians. So Egyptians and the Greeks. So are we descended of kings and queens? If you write it down and you trace the lineage like that in the history, you can see how that's a very proud and powerful thing. But just to say it doesn't mean anything really, you know, because you're not going to use the words to back it up. The same with white supremacy. It means nothing. It means if you try to ask, please give me some kind of illustration on why this is true. It can't happen. There is no justification for it. No, it just doesn't happen. And if you eliminate crime out of it, can't use the examples of crime, all you get is silence. So I mean, these are powerful things that we use with words, you know. And the news medias are the ones who really are the ones who push a lot of these things like that. They're the ones that have the written word. They don't use the 4-syllable words, you know, because like I said, they're hard to talk and spit forms in your mouth. But they have the written word and they explain on it. The talking heads, sometimes, especially when they do round table type of things, it's like there's really no information transfer going on the round table. If you didn't get all the information before they started the round table, because the round table, you just get people, the guys trying to get in there, and the women won't shut up. And they just do what they do as a subculture. You know? And then, I'm going to go a little bit over, I think. So, where do a lot of our words come from that we use to get off this thing? our words, they all come from the progeny and what was in vogue back in time. That's where we get these things from. A lot of our words that we use when we're speaking are still coming from an agricultural era. You know? Oh man, I farmed this out. You go to business. Well, I'm going to farm this out to the people over here. They might be talking about money. I don't know what they're talking about. But they go into an agricultural area. Or then it comes from an intellectual area. This is as strong as steel. We don't even really make steel anymore. But this is as strong as steel. And then we got the scientific stuff now. We got all kinds of different words that there's just so many of them going on. And this is where we get our words from those different eras. And we don't let those go. But when you say the word, when you say the word farming out, the vision that you have in your head is somebody tilling the soil and farming and depends upon how intellect you might get farming out as crop sharing or one of those things that happened after the Civil War. You know, you might get that. Same with industrial industry. You say it was steel, you might get, yeah, we had a great booming industry at that time. Wages. You started working for wages, you had mills going, we were making cars, you got all kinds of things like that. And the vision that you get from is what is transferred into your mind for the way that you perceive the words associated with that word steel or that word farming or the scientific word space race and stuff, all kinds of good stuff. What I heard, oh, yeah, well, somebody tweeted something that the fires in California look like the apocalypse. Obviously, that came from a religious connotation. Now, can you tell me what the apocalypse looked like? Yeah, 4 horses driving lit bundles of wheat behind them or something like the world on fire? No, but did it make sense to everybody? And they have this vision of real serious devastation and real serious hurt and pain? Yeah. So that's a little bit on words, I think, because there's a lot on words because we use words. And I hope everybody was having a good time with the words. Yeah, and I hope everybody can write the words down. And then we'll all have a whole lot more melodious words so that we could be the sing-songiest people on the whole planet that we are already, you know, and it'll be great that we'll all, it'll make you feel good too, you know. Song does make you feel good. Music does have charms to soothe the savage beast. Now there's a whole mouthful of visions and symbols that you can pick apart at your own leisure. Music does have charms to soothe the savage beast. So you can go off all the way over there. And remember, that has to do with melodious speaking. Well, I'm Trooper Joe, and I had a good time, and I hope everybody else had a good time. And I hope we had some fun and maybe come away with learning something. I know I learned a lot from that. And especially I try to transfer that into being an archangel and use words that's only going to be pleasing to other people when I meet them, you know, so that they feel good too. Because that's the ultimate end. The goal for Archangel is to use the talents that you have to make other people feel good, because that's a privilege. Well, I'm Trooper Joe, and I want to say to everybody to have their fun. All right, I'm gone.